testing. And polygraph testing is a requirement within the ranks for promotion, for appointment to sensitive positions, and so on.
What about random drug testing?
Well, we don't currently have random drug testing, but I don't think there's any objection to it. Certainly from our point of view as a police federation, we don't object to anything that will enhance the professionalism of our members and to ensure that our members conform to good standards.
If I'm yes. Your federation has pushed for the death penalty for those who kill police officers, security force members, which is understandable. Given that position, are you willing to take the stance that individuals within the security forces, be they JCF or JDF, who betray the public's trust, be also given stiffer penalties than, say, a civilian?
Well, I mean, I've been on record to say that people who occupy a position of trust and confidence are held to a higher standard, and therefore the consequences of breaches should be higher. I mean, I have no difficulty with that position. Certainly the position of a security force or a police officer, JDF member, is a position of trust and confidence. The people of Jamaica invest significant confidence in to ensure that they are safe, with the expectation that these officers will carry themselves in a professional manner that inspire confidence in the security forces. And therefore we have no difficulty with deviant conduct be faced with the strictest of punishment.
Well, let me get a comment from Commander Overton. Do you believe that there should be stiffer penalties for members of the security forces?
I have been an advocate of that from the past 30-odd years. I do believe so. When I served, I held myself to a higher standard, and I believe that persons who offer themselves to serve the country should do it with dignity and integrity, and therefore should face stiffer penalties where they breach the trust and confidence that have been placed in them.
You say you've been going at it for 30 years. Why hasn't it happened? What's the drawback?
Well, I suppose really and truly it is that the process has not created the level of concern that will force action. We have so many competing priorities that it's probably not at the top of the pile. But you know, the truth is that what is happening is actually a reflection of what happens in the wider society.
So do we need
and therefore, you know, no matter what you try and do inside, people who have lived to the age of 18, 19, 20, 21 and joined the police force or the military, if that is what they have been exposed to in their formative years as the norm and the accepted norm by society, then it's going to become a part of the culture. And I do believe that this is one of the problems that we are faced with.
So is it a culture that's happening in the security forces? They come in nice, well-adjusted?
I think it's more the society than the force.
Well, I certainly believe it's a society issue, and it's an issue where we give priority to quantity over quality. And I certainly have seen...
What you mean by that? Scrape up anybody and throw them in the force?
I mean, and the government is guilty of this as well, where they say security force members as boots on the ground to satisfy the demand for crime-fighting measures. You ramp up the numbers, you shorten training, reduce the standard to get more numbers in. And I believe that some of these decisions are consequential, in the sense that we are seeing the less competent people, less qualified, or less committed people being a part of the force, because we have reduced the standards so that people can meet them, rather than elevating the standards so that people can reach up to them. We cannot give security force roles. We cannot give our most important job to our least qualified people. And qualified does not only mean academic competence, but it means qualified, morally qualified in terms of values and enough standing. And we believe that it is too critical a position, a police officer, a member of the JDF, for us to give those jobs to our least qualified people. Certainly we must see policing as more than numbers, more than boots on the ground, but we must see them as people who the consequences of their actions are too great for us to make those decisions on the point of quantity.
Lieutenant Commander, speaking on the issue of training. A lot of the times, these same young men and women come from the same neighborhoods and areas, and oftentimes grew up with individuals that they're then tasked with apprehending or sending away. Beyond that, though, the organization itself, do we need to push for a more stringent, not just qualifications for entry, but also within training and an acceptance of the lifestyle, be it within the JDF or JCF, that you are supposed to be higher than average, better than average when going forth and doing one's duty?
I think that that is in place. Certainly the training that I am exposed to and what I know goes on today in both the Jamaica Defense Force and the Jamaica Constabulary Force does adequately cover those things in addressing the whole attitude and the approach and the integrity, the need for integrity. It is how we ensure that the train stays on the track.
What are we missing with that?
How do we ensure, how do we know when there is one of the members who is coming off the track? And that I believe is what is necessary. You can have a man who has been an excellent soldier or police officer for 5, 6, 7 years. What tells us when he's coming off the track? Yes, there are internal mechanisms and things, but it's really not enough to fully guarantee that it won't happen. And therefore, you know, we have to see what mechanisms can be put in place to tell us when a good man or a good woman is getting off track and becoming a bad one.
Well, Detective Sargeant,
that's the mechanism that we need.
Detective Sargeant, what mechanisms do you think need to be in place, as the Lieutenant Commander was talking about, to ensure that we can identify that individual who is going off track and either get them back on the correct path or get them out of the force entirely so as they don't then corrupt those around them?
Well, I believe that there are no shortage of ideas. There are no shortages of policies and directives. But certainly what we need is enforcement. In the Jamaica Constabulary Force, we have officers re-enlist every 5 years. And those re-enlistment are subjected to good work and conduct, and the determination is made based on the officer's conduct over his last contract. We have early intervention policies that look at signs of deviant behavior and address those through counseling and training and so on. We need stronger enforcement. What I believe we need is a national policy and national security, a framework that seeks to achieve a standard, because what we have found is that the management and handling of security is too subjective. Every change in commissioner, every change in minister, you have a new policy directive as it relates to how you recruit, how you maintain, how you manage security, and the focus over quantity over quality. And therefore what we believe we need is, whether through legislation or through a national policy that cannot be amended in a subjective way to address these concerns.
So you don't want a standardized continuity within all of the above: training, discipline, etc.
Certainly, and we need to have the revolution, a revolving of the existing policy. A number of our policies are outdated. I mean, how you discharge an officer, how you discipline them, these are from the 60s, 70s, and they need to evolve with the time because conduct have changed.
But gentlemen, I understand that the entire country is concerned, especially given the reports of what happened last night, and you both are concerned. But isn't this a good thing, what's happened? Isn't it showing that there is some silver line, that the processes work, Overton?
Certainly there is an indication that the system will work. It is not that easy to circumvent the system today. And therefore, yes, that is the silver lining that we should be looking at in the cloud. That the information was there, but you know, for me, it goes not just to what happens in the military or the police force. It's a wider societal issue. these men have not been corrupted. They have not become deviant members of the forces for no reason. There is one of financial gain. And one of the things I do believe we need to look at in this country is unexplained wealth. If there was a consequence to unexplained wealth, then maybe these people wouldn't be turning to it, but they believe that there's a greater chance of becoming a corrupt member of the force, whether it's the army or the police, make this money that they're out there trying to make and get away with it. Not just from a criminal standpoint, but if they succeed, the proceeds, they can get away and continue to enjoy it. That, I believe, is what is too common and easy in this country.
Patrae?
Well, certainly for me,
seconds.
well, one of the proud things for us is that I think there's no doubt in mind as the Jamaican people that we have always effected arrests. In fact, all the cases of deviant conduct in the security forces, police are the ones who effect the arrests. Certainly one of the things that we must look at, I agree with Mr. Overton, the police constable gets $840,000 per year at minimum, and they pursue criminals with billions of dollars of net worth. Right, and therefore you can see the opportunities that presents itself there when a police officer with a responsibility to enforce the law against people with multi-million-dollar underground organization that cannot pay their bills or send their children to school, and therefore we must look at that.
I'm afraid we've got to go. Detective Sargeant, thank you very much.